Okay, so now we'll take a look at the stats. These values are equivalent to the ones we will get by calling the getStat function from code. Now let's go one by one through the most relevant stats. The first one is the BWE for video. This one contains information about the bandwidth estimate of the peer connection. Some of the relevant values here are the actual bitrate of the encoded versus the target bitrate of the encoder. Usually, these two values should be similar. Also, we have the available bandwidth we have for receiving video and for sending video. The Retransmit Bitrate allows measuring the bitrate of retransmit if RTX is used. It usually indicates packet loss. Now let's move on to the next stat. The Google certificate shows the information about the DTLS certificate that is being used by this peer. This stat is closely related to the component one. The component acts as a glue between a certificate and a specific connection. That's why it has the ID of the certificate and also an ID of the connection. And what is this connection? Well, we can see that we have a bunch of stats for local candidate and also for remote candidate. A connection takes one local candidate and one remote candidate and creates a candidate pair, which is going to be used to establish a connection. We can see that for this specific call, two candidate pairs were created. But before taking a look at the connection, let's look at the candidates. The local candidates are the ones generated by the local peer. And among the information that it shows, we have some stuff like the IP address, the port number, the transport protocol, and also the candidate type, which in this case it's host. For other candidates, for example, let's take this one, we will see a different candidate type. In this case is server reflexive. This means that this specific candidate was retrieved from a STUN server. The same information is also available for the remote candidates, which are the ones that we got from the other peer. Okay, so now that we know how a candidate looks like, we can take a look at the connection or candidate pair. For the connection, the information that we have is the bytes received, the bytes sent, and the packet sent. These are the raw packets and bytes that are being sent and received to and from the other peer. We also have the number of requests and response that we send and receive to STUN servers. We have the information about the candidates that are being used. This applies for both the local and the remote ones. We have the round trip time, the transport type, and we also have a very interesting field that tells us that this is the current active connection. If we go to see the other candidate peer, we will see that this value is false. Usually, we will be interested in the information about the active connection. Now, that's about the connection and the candidates. Another important stats are the synchronization source, which refers to the actual media tracks that are being sent and that are being received. Let's take a look at this information. For this one, we have the media type as audio. That means that this is the information about the audio track that we are sending. Such information contains the byte sent, the number of packets, a synchronization source ID, the codec name, the ID of the track, and other type of stats related to audio. We also can see that we have a number of packet lost for audio in this call. These stats will help to explain if there is some quality issues with this call. Let's take a look at the other track. This one is the media type of video. We also have the number of packet loss, the number of packets sent, the bytes sent, the synchronization source ID, and we also have some additional information such as the frame height input, which refers to the size of the frame that we are getting in the local media device versus the height of the frame that is actually being sent. We have a difference here, which could be explained with the fact that the CPU limited resolution is set to true. This means that probably this host has some CPU limitations that is resizing the height of the frame that is being sent. The same thing applies for the width of the frame which also has a difference between the one we have in the local media and the one that is being sent. For the rate, it seems that both the one we have locally and the one that is being sent is quite similar. Another three stats that we can consider is the first, next, and PLIs received. This usually indicates that there may be some packet lost. Besides that, we have similar information as for the audio track. And this is for the media that we're sending. We also have similar information for the media that we are receiving. And that's pretty much for the stats. When you're ready, move to the next lesson.